Did you know that 53 million Americans have a second secret job? A job with no paycheck, no benefits, and no breaks. Anybody want that job? That second secret job, it's called caregiving. Caregiving is the hidden workforce. Millions of people providing essential care that keeps families and society and communities running. For 1 in 5 adults, clocking out at work means clocking in at home. Every day they come home to a double or a triple shift, caring for an aging parent or an ailing spouse or a child with disabilities, and they are burning out. This is a growing crisis that we rarely talk about, but we need to start talking about it. Because caregiving is no longer just a private, personal issue. It's a community issue. It's a leadership issue. It's a workforce issue. It's a human issue that impacts all of us. And if we want to thrive, we need to start caring about caregiving and especially caregivers, the people providing this care. Because what got us here won't get us to where we need to be in the future. I'm a physician. I'm a palliative care doctor. And I've spent my career guiding patients and families as they face difficult medical decisions and the end of life. I understand caregiving on a professional level, but nothing prepared me for what happened to me and my family in the spring of 2020. 2020, the world had just shut down. One day I'm at work and my phone, it starts buzzing in my pocket. When I finally get a chance to pull it out, my heart drops because I see multiple missed calls from my dad and from my brother. And I saw an urgent text that says, "Call me now." My mom was sick. She was in the hospital. We didn't know what was going on. And in that moment, I wasn't the doctor. I was the daughter. I was a caregiver and I felt helpless. And over the next few weeks and months, just trying to juggle everything, working full time, caring for my daughter who was a toddler, and now the mess of my mom's caregiving situation, the doctors, the hospitals, the equipment, all of it at the same time in the middle of COVID from miles away. It was one of the most overwhelming periods of time in my life. But my story, it isn't very unique. It's the reality of millions of people every single day. Who are these people? We often think caregivers are elderly women caring for an ailing spouse, but that is no longer the reality. Yes, more than 60% of caregivers are women, but that means about 40% are men. 82% are actually under the age of 65. More than half work full-time. Up to a third are in what is known as the sandwich generation. They're caring for aging parents and young children at the same time. Caregivers aren't just elderly retirees. They're millennials, Gen X, even Gen Z. They're working professionals, business owners, parents. They're your managers, your colleagues, your employees. There are people sitting here in this very room who are silently struggling with this. What do caregivers do? Caregivers provide an estimated $600 billion in unpaid labor every single year, filling in the gaps in a system that is unprepared to meet the need, and they're burning out. Caregivers have nearly double the rate of chronic health conditions. Up to a third are providing intense care to someone else while suffering from poor health themselves. Many have to cut back their hours, go to part-time, or even quit their jobs entirely because the weight of caregiving is too heavy. And when caregivers feel the strain, everyone feels it. Families feel it, communities feel it, businesses, workplaces, they take a hit. When highly skilled, highly talented employees have to cut back or burn out. Healthcare systems used to caring for the patient, now the caregiver becomes a patient themselves. These ripples are wide and they also run deep. And if you think this doesn't impact you, let me remind you what former First Lady Rosalynn Carter once said. She said there are only 4 types of people in this world. Those who have been caregivers, those who are currently caregivers, those who will be caregivers, and those who will need a caregiver. This isn't just somebody else's story. One day, this will be your story too. And if we don't shift our assumptions, we won't be ready for what is coming, because unfortunately, this is just the beginning. You see, we are standing on the edge of the largest demographic shift in US history. By 2030, 76 million baby boomers will have all reached retirement. This wave of retirement is what is known as the silver tsunami. But behind it, there is an aftershock, the age of caregiving. You see, over the next 25 years, as the baby boomers get older, their health needs will start to change. And then their care needs will start to change. Let me give you one example. Right now in the United States, there are an estimated 7 million older adults living with Alzheimer's dementia. By 2050, that number is expected to double, reaching 13, 14 million. That's just dementia. There's heart disease, lung disease, cancer, stroke, all illnesses that increase in frequency as we get older. And every single one of these individuals will need someone to care for them. Who's going to provide that care? I can tell you firsthand as a physician, our healthcare system is not prepared for this. Our long-term care industry is not prepared for this. Our communities are not prepared for this. We are not prepared for this. Because this isn't just about seniors in nursing homes. It's also about working families who will be stepping into these roles while still trying to hold down their jobs. I've seen what happens when caregivers aren't supported in the workplace. I saw it firsthand in my own family. 20 years ago, my dad was at the height of his career, a computer engineer, leading a department, providing for our family. Life was moving forward when all of a sudden, the phone calls started. First, it was once a month. My grandmother was more confused. Then once a week, she got lost, she had a fall, and all of a sudden, my dad's world shifted. But his workplace wasn't designed to support caregivers. His colleagues never talked about it. And the idea that a man might leave his career to go and care for an aging parent, that was unheard of. But that's exactly what he did. He left his position to go and care for his aging mother. But when he tried to return back to the workforce years later, despite his experience, his talent, his skills, he struggled. Because there was no conversation about caregiving, because there was no culture of care, because the systems in place failed to acknowledge the realities that working families face when they're trying to navigate all of this all alone. And here's the scary part. In the last 20 years, not enough has changed. But it needs to. How? How will we survive the age of caregiving? The answer is care. C-A-R-E, care. C stands for culture. Care starts with culture. Culture shapes how we work, how we live, how we treat one another. In your company, people come for a paycheck, but they stay because of how they're treated, how they're valued. Do your colleagues feel comfortable talking about their caregiving responsibilities, or do they hold back? Do they stay silent, afraid of being seen as less committed? Normalizing the conversation is the first step towards creating a culture that cares. Now, culture change, it doesn't happen overnight. It starts at the top and has to be reinforced through action. But when we create cultures that care, caregiving employees, they no longer have to feel like they are choosing between their job and their family. And the result is a more productive, more engaged, and more loyal workforce. And this is actually measurable. A study by the Harvard Business School found that companies with strong caregiver-friendly policies saw a 126% return on their investment. That's from higher engagement, more productivity, less turnover. A study by the U.S. Chamber of Commerce Foundation found that organizations with strong caregiver-friendly support programs had a 28% reduction in turnover. leading to better outcomes for the caregiver and direct business savings for the business. When they looked at how do we support our workforce who is also dealing with caregiving, when they created that culture, that care, everyone benefited. A is for awareness. We need to be aware of what are the specific issues that we're facing in our communities. How many are part of the sandwich generation? How many are caring for aging parents? What specific needs do they have? Until we understand these needs, we can't create the right policies or support systems or put in place the right resources. R is for resources. Caregivers need more than just encouragement. They need real, tangible support. For some, this takes the form of flexible work arrangements, not as a perk, but as a necessity. Research shows that when families have access to paid family leave, for example, they're less likely to have to place their loved one in a nursing home. For others, it's just access to information, knowing that there's a resource hub, a support group, or a workplace where you don't have to fear asking for help. When we put in the right places, the right resources, everyone benefits. We also need to invest in real, meaningful, community-based resources, healthcare resources, respite care, home-based primary care, palliative care, geriatric care coordination. These type of services not only reduce hospital readmissions, but they improve the quality of life of the caregiver and the person that they provide care for. With those right resources in place, everyone benefits. The person receiving the care, the person providing the care, and the community around them. Culture, awareness, and resources, they're the foundation of care, but empowerment completes the equation. See, caregivers don't often see themselves as leaders, but they are leaders. They lead through crisis, they lead through exhaustion, they lead through overwhelming and impossible choices with no orientation, no training, no breaks. They learn these leadership skills in what I call the world's worst MBA, one they didn't even apply for. But when we empower caregivers, when we lift them up, we're not just helping individuals, we're helping all of us. Because one day, all of us will either be a caregiver or will need one. And chances are a bit of both. When we empower caregivers, when we support them, we're building the type of future that we all deserve. One that is compassionate, one that is prepared, one that is strong. Culture, awareness, resources, and empowerment. It's not just an acronym. It's a blueprint for how we move forward. The age of caregiving is here, and we have a choice. We can continue to ignore it and allow families to continue to suffer in silence, or we can face it head on and build the type of society that we all deserve, one where no one has to choose between their paycheck or their loved one. The age of caregiving is here, and the time to care is now.